I want to thank each and all of you listeners today for tuning into another beautiful podcast session or whatever we call it, which is called "Beautiful Things Come from Struggle" in YouTube channel. Before I say anything, usually we have someone interviewed an interview lined up, but I want to just talk about a couple of things. Some of the things that I want to talk about today, folks, is the typical profile of an adult inmate, the personality traits, and even the classroom deficit, how they view the inmates' classroom, how they move in the classroom, like how do they learn, things of that nature. But before I say that, I wanna start with a quote, folks. Education isn't filling a bucket, but lighting a fire. And the reason why I chose that is because education for me, it was filling that bucket, and it was important, and it was something that I needed. But a little fire was inside me, and it made me realize that with education, there's more that I can do, and there's more that I can become. And so, the typical profile of an adult inmate is what they usually teach these officers in the academy. And I'm going to read a list of what they say. And it's to some of you guys, maybe to all of you guys, it's probably going to bother you. But they feel that the IQ of an inmate is about 90, but functions at a 6th to 7th grade level. They say that education does not go beyond the 9th or 10th grade. They also say that approximately 75% have no previous vocational training. They say that we have very poor job history prior to prison, and 80% of us were learning less than poverty wages. We're typically late teens to early 30s in age. Some of us are heavy substance abusers. We come from dysfunctional family units. Some of us are victim of child abuse or physical or sexual abuse. We also, they say, tend to have a long history of personal failures. The personal traits, they say, that some profile of adult inmates is that we're defensive and we have a negative attitude, that we have low self-esteem, that we are functionally illiterate, that we are antisocial or non-social, and that we lack many social skills, that problem solving and decision making is very difficult for us, that we have a lack of conscience and shows little concern for the welfare of others. That we use relationships to further their goals or our goals, and often lie to benefit them. They say that the incarcerated tend to be self-centered and not reflective. That we usually internalize blame for our actions on others and other circumstances beyond our control. That we misinterpret social expectations and actions and intentions of others. That we offer extreme and polarized judgments, that we tend to react on emotions on first impulse, that we're not planners, that we don't see beyond now, or are impatient, that we're afraid of failure, unable to form acceptable relationships, that we have difficulty controlling anger, that we're not goal-oriented and we lack motivation, that we display hostility toward authority. Where they say that where we lie with the classroom is that we have short attention spans, that we have little experience with good study habits, that we're poor writers, readers, listeners, and speakers, that we have diminished short-term and long-term memories, that we seldom give serious consideration to others' questions, that we have problems with following directions, we have little self-motivation to study outside of class, and that we tend to jump in with questions and comments rather than to wait and be recognized. So, folks, these are some of the things that they teach the officers that become officers in the Department of Correction, what the profile of an adult inmate is. And when I was able to see this paper and I was able to read it, a lot of emotions came up out of me. And I have to be honest with you, some of these things on the list, I looked at myself and I could actually identify with it. And when I was able to see it and read it and feel it, it just made me go harder. It just made me want to better myself even more. And see, that's what Beautiful Things Come From Struggle is all about. Because we struggle. And then once we struggle and once we get over that adversity, we come through, we get, you know, we learn from our past. You know, we become better and, you know, bigger and better people. And that's why education isn't just it isn't just filling a bucket, but it's lighting a fire. Excuse my French, but education lit a fire in my ass. When they talk about IQ of about 90 and functions at 6th and 7th grade, and education does not go beyond 9th to 10th grade, I'm going to be honest with you. At one time, they said my IQ was in the 70s. Most people would be scared to say that, to admit that. But if you hear me speak and if you know me now, you would laugh at that. They say that education does not go beyond 9th or 10th grade. You know, I'm not conceited. I'm proud of the fact that I've been to college. When they say that, you know, we come from a dysfunctional family unit and that we're victim of child abuse and other forms of abuse, I come from a dysfunctional family, and I have been a victim of child abuse and other abuses. But I'll be damned if I let my past destroy my present and my future. In my personality, have I been defensive and negative? Of course, there were times in my life where I've been defensive and negative. But as you can see, folks, when you go through trauma, it becomes you, you know? Have I ever dealt with low self-esteem? Absolutely. There was a time where I didn't even love myself, believe in myself. I didn't think that, let alone live past a particular age, man. I didn't even think I would be able to read a book. But folks, today, my self-esteem is not lacking. I believe in me. I love me. And I was just talking to my friend, my big bro, and I was just telling him that because I love me, I'm able to reciprocate that to other people. Am I antisocial or non-social, and do I lack social skills? I no longer do that. I think I'm very social. I know how to deal with people, and I know how to solve problems, even when things are difficult. And I certainly have a conscience, and I have empathy for people. I'm definitely goal-oriented, and I'm very motivated. But I will say I'm afraid of failure. But being afraid of failure is something that motivates me in not wanting to fail. And I'm definitely not a poor writer, and I could be a better listener, but I'm way better than I used to be. And so, folks, many of you guys are asking, why am I talking about this? Why am I donating time to the YouTube channel podcast about talking about this? Is because, man, listen, beautiful things come from struggle, right? And to the many men who I've encountered behind the prison wall, they have come up like me, and they have changed the narrative, okay? They have changed the narrative, meaning that what they were once, they are no longer that. And we are redeemable men. And I'm not forgetting the women that are incarcerated as well. They are redeemable women. And I find it ironic that the Department of Correction has put out this typical profile of an adult inmate. But as I look at it as a negative thing, I look at it as a positive because, as I said, it lit a fire within me. And I'm just, I'm just proud of the individuals that I've encountered along the way who have come up like me and who have dealt with the same issues like me and are changing that narrative. So, folks, I hope that this was a little bit informative. I hope that there was something that I said that you could take and share it with someone out there. And with that, I just wanted to say we're here to reach, not to preach. And with that, tune into another episode, another session of Beautiful Things Come From Struggle podcast YouTube channel. With that, I love you. Peace. God bless. Nate.